Bam, we're live. Oh, no, not where I am. Now we are. Before was I. No. Damn, these glasses have some great glare.
Morning.
Bro, I finally got you on my feed again. I did go in and make you a close friend. I wonder if that helps. Good morning, Brian. I have 93,000 followers and dropping quickly.
It's been around there for like a year though.
Yeah.
I'd say you're holding steady.
Oh, okay, good. But I'll post something. I'll post. Wow, Martin Vittori has to fight Hermanson now. That makes no sense to me. He's beat up Paulo Costa. So I post stuff and it'll be up for like 12 hours and it'll have 43 views. Oh man, my life sucks. Hey,
when you get less views than years you are old, it's not a good sign.
Wow, well said. That's like if your stomach sticks out past your chest, or your hips are broader than your shoulders. If you're a dude, if that's true for anyone, don't let that give you a complex. That's just funny. Like, who cares? Don't like. There's a girl out there for everyone, or a dude. Oh, Tom. No, Tom. Me and you are not friends anymore. I CrossFit like a motherfucker, Tom. Brian, it was pretty funny to watch James Fitzgerald's face when you said you do hybrid of. Yeah, that was great. I've been playing that one over in my head a lot, Brian. I'm not going to lie.
I don't know what to take away from that comment, but okay.
Someone told me that the difference between men and women is women play conversations over and over in their head from earlier in the day. So like if my wife interacted like with the checker at Whole Foods later on in the day, she'd be like, was I rude to that person? Should I have waited until they said thank you before I left? Or they like play that shit over and over in their head, where dudes are thinking about sports and sex all the time. And
you walked right into it, Adam.
What's up, man?
But I just can't stop thinking about some of the stuff that we talked about with James. Hey, Adam, what's up? My wife, right as I walked into my office, my wife's like, Neiffer. I was like, all right. And I'm like, man,
she's on it.
She eavesdrops on my conversations. She eavesdrops.
Dude, maybe she listens to your show.
Was it on the show, or didn't I call you or something recently and I said Neiffer and you're like Neiffer. Is that a phone call?
Man, I feel like it was on the last podcast or last show with you. But
well, there too, but even more recently, I called you.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Like, did I call you when you were at Rogue? Did we talk on the phone when you were at Rogue?
I think so. Just for a minute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. Hey, man. Good morning. Good morning. You want me to turn off that light behind me?
That's a light behind you? I thought that was Jesus descending on you. My bad.
Let me see. Is that better? Worse? Same?
It's your connection is so shitty that I don't think that there's anything you could know. It's not. It's good. I like it with it off. It's nice.
Cool.
Sevan wearing safety glasses. Hey guys, I'm gonna give you a chance. I haven't told Adam this yet, to call in and say something to the guy who's coaching the future. So don't say
future.
Anything.
I think he's here already.
Don't waste your right. Thank you, Brian. Don't waste your question asking him about his mullet or some shit like that. You fucking hear me? And be polite. Adam, are people banging on your door? Like I heard a rumor that watch this, Brian. I heard a rumor that Sarah Sigmund's daughter is moving to your gym, Fort Vancouver, to be trained by you. Are there any truths? Is there any truths to that?
Nope.
Come on, dude. It's cool. There's only 47 people listening. It would be a slow trickle if you told us.
No, she's man, I'm a fan of Sarah. I hope she comes back and crushes it this year.
Me too, but I heard that you're going to be coaching her. Is there any truth to that?
Did Brian tell you that?
No. Brian's like always like 3 days behind me in his knowledge.
I haven't heard anything about it, so I might be in the same boat.
We broke on the we broke on the show, on the news show 2 days ago that Katrin and Annie are coming out with a children's book, and I told Brian, he's like, dude, I knew that 2 months ago. Like, all right, Brian, let me ask you: is there any truth that have you heard rumors that Sarah's coming to train with Adam?
Come on, man. You know you just made that up in the shower like 20 minutes ago.
Hey, which you call made up, I call channeling.
Okay.
Channeling. Maybe I know
That-
stuff that neither of you guys know. Maybe I know the future.
That sounds like one of those words where you just change the definition to make it mean whatever you want it to mean.
Which brings me full circle back to OPT, or talking to James Fitzgerald yesterday. There were two parts in the podcast that are really sticking with me. He didn't like Peloton because he didn't believe that the relationship with the rider and the coach was a real relationship. And I was kind of tripping on that. And then I realized really quickly that we have totally different definitions of relationship, because like, I think I even have a relationship with Pluto and Mars, and it's just everything in the cosmos at some subtle level. I have a relationship with everything. No? Yes?
That you do you. I don't know.
Well, I mean, do you have a relationship with the moon?
I hadn't really given it much thought.
Right. How's
If
your
I'm
relate?
walking around out in the dark and the moon's bright enough to help me see, it's pretty awesome.
So practical. I'm looking up the definition of relationship right here. A relationship, the condition or fact of being related, connected, or association. I guess I don't even know Pluto really exists. I just take word for it from just shit I read in books.
Do you consider it to be a planet?
When I was a kid, it was. I guess I don't even know the definition of planet. A particular type of connection existing between people related to or having dealings with one another. Do you have any top female performers or men like banging on your door? Like, are you gonna start? Is there gonna be a whole thing that starts up there outside? Well, I guess you already had a whole thing before Justin came along.
Yeah, I mean, we had some teams. I don't know. In terms of like what I do, my coaching role, I work at my affiliate, and there's a bunch of people that I work with there. In terms of like all levels of athletes, and then, yeah, for competition, I work for Justin. Like that's it.
And and so you must be stoked about Rogue.
Oh, Rogue was awesome, man. Yeah, it really couldn't have gone much better for him.
At the games, there's pressure. There's pressure on you guys. There's pressure on him. There's pressure on you.
I mean, yeah, the pressure that you put on yourself in terms of like you spend an entire year preparing for something, and you want to see that work come to fruition. But I wouldn't say pressure in terms of like living up to whatever expectations that somebody else puts on them. Those are there, but they're not like a significant factor.
Well, they're significant in the sense that I don't believe you, so I'm going to press harder. They're significant.
Go for it.
They're significant in the fact that the games just happens once. The pressure is that you, let's say on the most subtle levels, you get enough sleep, you eat right. There's pressures on you that when they say 3, 2, 1, go, that you get the jump right. There's pressure. I mean, there's those just the normal obvious pressures, and they're significant because it only happens once, right? And if you fuck it up, you got to wait till the next year.
Yeah, but I don't think, like, as an athlete, you can't think that way of like, oh, I'm just trying not to mess it up. I think it's more of like an opportunity of all the training and preparation and work that you put in for the year. That's the test. That's when you get to go out and see what you've been doing if it's working. And so there's the pressure of like, hey, I don't want all my preparation to be for naught. I want it to pay off, not only in like the outcome, but in just how I perform along the way. And so, yeah, I don't see, obviously you're nervous and there's the pressure of it's a big event and you compete once a year, but it's not a negative pressure of like, oh man, I don't want to make a mistake, or I don't want to mess it up, or I'm playing not to lose.
And is it the same at Rogue as it is at the games?
Yes and no. It's different for sure, but at 3, 2, 1, go. I imagine it feels the same. But honestly, those are great questions for once the workout starts, I'm a spectator just like everybody else.
I like the way you said you can't go in there as an athlete and say I can't mess this up. That's clearly why I am not an athlete, because that's all I'd be thinking. Oh, don't fuck this. That's how I run the podcast. Don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up. Don't fuck. Maybe you should coach me.
No, you don't run the podcast that way. You just say whatever comes into your mind.
Don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up. Eating's like that too. A friend taught me this one time. I was always focused on what not to eat, and he said, "Hey, dude, just focus on what you should eat." And for whatever reason, that carried me for like a year. Okay, I like that. He's all focus on what you should eat, and then you'll bring those things into your life. Focus on what you don't want to eat, and those things will still be, in your life. Although I really although my message, it's interesting because my consistent message is don't eat added sugar and refined carbohydrates, but I have no problem not eating those. But maybe it's because I made it over the hump.
I think it's a larger picture thing is, if you're giving your energy to something, then it's actually propelling the thing forward. I mean, this is very spiritual concept, but it doesn't matter if the positive is negative or positive.
Like Justin never thinks, or Adam doesn't wake up in the morning and goes, don't miss another day of work. Don't miss another day of work. You never say that, right? I mean, that would be ridiculous. You say, oh my God, I can't wait to go to work and see these clients and try this new workout on them and break them off a piece.
Yeah, man, my work doesn't really feel like work most of the time. So it's pretty easy.
What was the most significant thing that stood out to you at Rogue? Is there anything that just pops off it, like the brisket, how green the grass was, the allergies, how Tia looked stronger than Justin? Anything that just jumps out at you?
Rogue, man, Justin was significantly better than he was at the games, and it was only 3 months apart, and it was noticeable from start to finish for me.
Tell me about this. I love this because one of the things I was saying is, I think Brian and I were talking on the podcast. I forget who the third person was. John Young was Justin, and I used 1% just as an arbitrary number. I didn't care what it was, but I asked, is Justin 1% better? I mean, he's only 22. Is he 1% better at everything than he was at the games? And man, yeah. So tell me, what did you see? What's the coach see?
Man, I don't know about the percent, but
of course not. That's just arbitrary. Of course not. Yeah.
I mean, I just saw an athlete that went out there and looked like he expected to excel every time he stepped onto the floor. And not that didn't happen during the games, but he just had another level of confidence that I haven't seen before in competition. And it allowed him to just go out there and be free in the competition arena. He wasn't wondering how anybody else was doing. He wasn't questioning if his effort or execution or his plan or his fitness was going to be good enough. He just went out there and competed. And yeah, man, it was awesome. It was fun to watch. I think a great example is the bike event I think it was the Rogue Echo Burner,
which we did yesterday in our gym, by the way. No fun.
Oh man, that's awesome. We did that last week too. Yeah, great times. But I mean, just as an example, I think they're in the bike event at the games, which were two kind of similar events. Obviously, there's some major differences, but in the bike event at the games, Justin got 9th place. And then in the bike event at Rogue, which, you could argue is even more kind of a significant bike event because it's 40 calories straight through and there's not really anywhere to hide on that. And Justin got 2nd, right? And I think, the thrusters were a significant part of that workout as well, but it just showed some improvement in an area that he has put a lot of time and effort into working on. And it's cool to see that on the competition floor.
Well, so just say this guy's got to be he looks like the best guy at thrusters in the world right now. I mean, it's really an impressive movement for him, but that was nice he was pushing on the bike, and I think he's probably about middle of the pack in terms of weight. Like, it's pretty average weight for the guys competing at Rogue. And obviously, a little bit more weight, 10, 20 more pounds can help out in that on the bike there. So I thought he did great on that workout. It was good to see. I'm curious though, when you're talking about his confidence, do you feel like even that, or it sounds like that was different. Like that wasn't what he was experiencing. Like he wasn't competing with that free will and confidence necessarily, or maybe not at the same level this summer that he was at Rogue.
Yeah, you cut out for a second. It's probably my internet, but you said he didn't have that same confidence at the games.
Well, it sounded like maybe it was even different at Rogue, like even more confident or more carefree or whatever the right word is to describe it.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. And, it's not that when I say confidence, it wasn't like he was out there saying, hey, I know I'm going to beat everybody in this workout. It was the confidence in that, hey, my best will be enough. Right. And I think the more experiences he has where that is the reality of the situation, the more that the confidence grows. And we saw that. I mean, honestly, at the games, there's 15 events, and we saw that even across the course of those 5 days, from the start of the games to the last day of the games. And then, in the 3 months in between the games and Rogue, I mean, there was some question as like how this is going to go, because he took more time off after the games than he ever had in his entire life. So the lead up training wise was a lot shorter than for any event that he's ever done. And so there was these questions of like, man, what's the fitness going to look like? But the closer that we got to Rogue, the more that his numbers in training started to show that, like, not only is he, back to where he was in many ways, but in some ways he's beyond where he was at the games. And then, once they announced the workouts, I think they announced the workouts on Monday, and we left on Wednesday. So basically, we had 1 day to kind of just like test out some pieces of some workouts. And I think just in that 1 day of just a little bit of testing bits and pieces, it was like, oh yeah, this is going to be awesome. We, right where he wants to be, and excited for the opportunity to compete again.
I don't think this guy is joking when he says this. This is we did a show with this guy. Unfortunately, it was kind of a mess. So we didn't get to air it. We should go back and revisit it. But this guy, he's way into the numbers, and he's saying, breaking down the numbers, he's exactly 1% better than Vellner in comparison to the games. Is there some math that this guy did around that, Brian? He's not joking, right?
I'm sure that he's run the numbers very closely. He's very passionate about it, and I think that he wrote an article that was on Morning Chalk Up, actually highlighting some of the scoring differences, if you want to check that out. And I think he will be actually having some more stuff coming out soon.
Adam, when you say that he took more time off, what does that look like than ever before?
The most time he'd really ever taken off prior to that is like a few days, and this was a few weeks.
Is this not good to ask you this stuff? Is part of you like, fuck guys, have him on? This is none of my fucking business.
No, there is something going through my head. Like my job is literally to help Justin get as good as he can be, and I work for him. And so there are certain things where I'm like, I don't really want to say too much, because if it doesn't help him win, it's not not worth doing. Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm sitting here like, oh, I'm afraid that somebody's going to find out all the secrets. No, that's not it at all. But there are, just certain conversations that I'm kind of like, I'm probably not going to tell the entire story on that. For those reasons.
out of respect. I didn't think it was just not give away secrets, just kind of more out of respect. Mm-hmm. We have a code. Anytime I ask something you don't want to answer, just go like this. And I'll be like, oh, I know that'll be our signal, our safety signal.
Oh man, you can ask whatever you want. It's all good.
When you say, you guys were talking about how great his thrusters were, and I think you guys were saying they improved. Is that something that you guys is that something you specifically worked on him with since the games? Like, do you look at specific movements and are like, hey dude, I think we can make up some time if when you get off the Echo bike, you swing your right leg over first, or on the thrusters, if you just tilt your wrist back a little bit more and keep the bar closer to you? I mean, do you work on fine tuning at that level?
100%. Yeah. It wasn't the thrusters though. We were talking about the bike.
Okay.
Yeah.
No wonder
yeah,
Brian was shaking his head. Okay, I thought
Yeah.
Brian was saying that he was one of the best in the world at thrusters, and he improved on thruster. Okay, so
I do think he is, but I also thought that at the games. In fact, that's when I started thinking it was at the games.
Interesting about that though is if you back up to the 2020 games, he took last place on the thruster event, and it also had some running and some burpees over a log and whatnot, or burpees over a bar or something like that.
It's also only 5 guys, and it's like, I know it's last, but people like to look and they're like, oh man, look, Justin, all top 5 finishes at Rogue, mostly top 5 finishes at the games, and he also had all top 5 finishes at 2020. Like, he might not have done that poorly in that event. Who knows? Maybe those guys would have been just the best. I don't know. But
anyway, I don't think that's the whole story though. If you have 40 guys in that field and Justin takes 5th out of 5, I doubt he takes 5th out of 40 in 2020. The whole point is, like, just to answer your question, Sevan, from 2020 games to 2021, yeah, he got better at thrusters for sure, and he worked on it. Yeah.
What was it like on the field out there? We saw Houdet pulled out. We saw Vellner. We interviewed Vellner one evening, and he literally had a hanky or a napkin in his hands the whole time. He blew his nose like 27 times. I was texting with Shane Orr, and he said that like 1 minute you'd be totally fine, and then all of a sudden you would have just insane allergies, and basically that's how allergies work. Those of us who have experienced that, the wind blows through and whatever it's carrying just jacks you up, and then you can be just jacked. And who else pulled out? Someone else pulled out too, right? Did Vigneault pull out?
Yeah.
Were all of these? Do you have any insight into that? First of all, do you know if Houdet and Vigneault pulled out because of allergies?
I have no idea. Yeah, why they pulled out.
You didn't see Vigneault just blowing his nose the whole time, or Houdet just like snot rockets flying off his face?
No, I'm laughing because I can imagine this conversation with Vellner. But honestly, I would probably say this anyway, like, oh, there's no allergies, it's just in your head or whatever. But like, I didn't notice any allergies the whole weekend from me or anybody else around. So, gotcha. I mean, maybe it was there, but I sure couldn't tell. Yeah.
There's so few athletes there. I just imagine that all of you guys are talking and all of you guys would be on the same page with that, like know that, but no, everyone, there is some.
Maybe the athletes, honestly though, like as a coach of an athlete, I'm not talking to all the other athletes, just out of respect for them. And they're, the only time that I really see them is when we're in the warm-up area. And there's a handful of ones that I've known for a long time that I might, have, some kind of a relationship with, that I'm like, hey, good to see you. How's it going? And there's like a little bit of interaction there, but mostly I'm around Justin throughout the weekend. And so he was fine. He didn't have any allergies.
How much time have you spent with him since the games? Like in the same vicinity as him?
None. He's in Boise.
He's just school.
Yeah. I mean, he's in school. He's finishing that up, and then, we'll talk all the time, but not. We haven't been in person since the games until we got to Rogue.
Do you have any? He's young, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any, like, you try to call him and you don't get in touch with him for 2 days, and then you finally call him and like you hear rave music in the background, and then you FaceTime with him and he's got a lollipop in his mouth, and you're like, Justin, everything good? Any...
No, not at all, man. But after the games, like taking the time off, he did it right. He enjoyed it. He didn't work out. He didn't eat good. He stayed up late all the time, and just kind of enjoyed not being in that like disciplined tunnel of training. When you're in the season and it's like there's a long lead up, as you go from open to quarterfinals to semifinals to games, and there's not a ton of opportunity for like kind of downtime and to kind of, I don't want to say let yourself go, but not just be in it. Because these guys, when they're training and they're competing, like, man, their entire life revolves around that, right? Everything from what they're eating, the decisions they're making in terms of like when they go to bed, what they're doing, who they're hanging out with, all those things play into it. And so after the games, yeah, he enjoyed things a little bit, and we didn't talk about training for pretty much that first several weeks. We did some time like recapping the games and, hey, what can we learn and what do we want this next block of training to look like and those types of things. But yeah, it's pretty awesome to have that off season. for him this year. It wasn't something that happened so much last year because the games were so late in October that it was a pretty quick turnaround to kind of get back to work.
Circling back around, no one else has tried to. No one's come to you in the last 2 years and said, "Hey, I want to be a games athlete."
Oh yeah, no,
specifically individual.
Yeah, some people have done that.
And what do you say? You say no?
I usually say no thanks.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll circle back. Tommy, you're on with Adam Neiffer, as his friends call him.
A question for Adam. When you program for Justin, do you look at like, hey, I got to get him stronger to beat Guy, or stronger to beat Pat, or do you look at it by event, like, hey, the games are coming up, I need to program more duration and stuff like that? How do you do that?
It's a great question,
man. Yeah, it is a great question. So when we program for Justin, it's literally just about Justin. Like just looking at, okay, where's he at, and how can we move the needle just a little bit in whatever areas feels most important for him. And it literally has nothing to do with anybody else, Pat or Guy or anybody else in the field, because at the end of the day, like whatever anybody else does is out of our hands anyway. So if Justin can be a little bit better next year than he was this last year, if Justin can be a little bit stronger in whatever areas that we choose to focus on, that's ultimately what's gonna have the payoff for him, not trying to base Justin's training on what somebody else is doing.
But Tommy, they do for Instagram pics, they do say stand next to Vellner so you don't look pasty white. Don't stand next to Guy, because Guy will make you look pasty white. So they do have to work on some of that like image stuff. But
well, you probably should work on that. Yeah.
The guys with the mullets care about their image.
Well, thank you for taking a call. I was just really curious on that.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Hey, Tommy, do you believe him? Because you asked about. Do you believe him? Because you asked about specifically about beating Vellner, and Adam volunteered Guy's name. It sounds like. Did
he say? I thought he said Guy too.
Oh, did he? Okay.
I said both, but no, I believe
okay,
it.
You win. You guys, you win, Adam.
Well, that was some solid journalism right there.
But you just work on the 1%, basically, was your answer, right? You're working on the little things that are going to make Justin perform overall better.
Correct. Yeah. And honestly, it's like from 2020 to 2021, it's like, hey, let's just make sure that the 2021 version of Justin is significantly better than he was in 2020. And if we do that, it doesn't guarantee any results, but it like his chances type of thing. And same thing for next year. It's like, man, we know there's room for improvement for Justin. And those are the things that we're going to focus on for next year. And if we are able to, to move the needle and make progress in those areas, I think he'll be fitter than he was this last year. And I think he's got a good chance to have a pretty cool season.
Sweet. Thanks, man.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for calling, man.
See you guys.
Thanks, Tommy. A man with a mullet walks into a bar. The bartender says the party's in the back. For some reason, I think that there's like a liquor in the front and poker in the rear joke there. Isn't that Isn't that the joke? Isn't there like a bar like in New Orleans? It says liquor in the front, poker in the rear, or something.
I don't know about that, but Adam, I think I talked to one of the athletes who asked you to coach him, and then he said, "I'm going to try back in 2 years." He said, "I need a longer mullet."
Are you serious?
No, I'm just.
I don't know if I said that, but yeah.
Have some athletes that we know asked you to coach them? Like did before Katrin went to Iceland? Did she say, maybe I'll try go West Coast? I did the East Coast thing.
No, it's definitely not. No. I don't know. Maybe a couple people that you know, but it wasn't like, hey, Adam, will you coach me? It was just, I don't know. There's been a few conversations, and the way I look at it is like, I work for Justin, and if there's a situation that helps him, then we'll consider it. So, as an example, if there's like a person that, and he's had an opportunity to train with some different people over the last couple of years that have been kind of cool, and if there's a person that is like can help Justin's experience, then I'd be open to it. And so that'd actually be kind of tough to do if it's like another dude, because that's his competitor, right? So I don't see like
sexist.
I mean, I just don't see another like top level games athlete training with Justin or being somebody that I program for. Cause like if I'm doing my job, my goal is to get Justin as good as he can. And if I'm doing that for somebody else that's a direct competitor of his, it's just it's like, yeah, I don't know. That just doesn't seem like the right thing to do. It's not helping the goal. Yeah.
It seems like an insurmountable. And I'm not poo-pooing on people who coach multiple athletes, but it seems like an insurmountable obstacle with the mindset that you have now. That you work for Justin, that it's about Justin winning, it's about Justin being his best, it's about it doesn't it seems like that's like you can only drive one car at a time.
Yeah, maybe there's some of that, but also, I mean, if Justin was like, hey, I want to train with like 6 of the top dudes because I think that's going to help me be the best that I can be, right? Like in
then you'd figure it out for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that would immediately happen overnight, but if he was like, hey, I want these 3 dudes to come train with me and do the same programming and be on the same page, that's something that I would consider, just because if it's something that he feels like would help him, then it's on the table. I have come from a team background, so I can definitely relate to working out as a group, and the tide rises all the ships and all that stuff, and I love that. And just where he's at now, I don't feel like that's the best situation for him. He's pretty like self-motivated. He's it's not that he doesn't like working out with other people. He definitely does, but he doesn't need that in order to find the motivation to get better.
When I think about this, I just think about the male games champions that we've had. And when you think about every single one of them, OPT, Kalipa, Miko, when they were winning, and they were all just these guys who came with their own background and showed up and performed. And then you get into the Holmberg, Froning, Smith, Fraser. None of these guys were training with other people like with the intent of that training partner helping them. And if anything, Froning was training with other guys, making them better, but he has and has always just been doing his thing. And every one of those guys I think about that's like won at the games, or even the guys that have threatened to win at the games, like Vellner and Fikowski and BKG, the only exception of a podium athlete I can think of who's also been in that kind of dual coaching, like a coach coaching multiple athletes who have top 10 potential at the games, is Noah Olson. And even in that environment, he's been up at training think tank sometimes, but oftentimes he's down in Miami still just training on his own. And I think that there's something to that. And I know that there's this big movement towards training camps now, and that it could potentially be good. But especially on the men's side, when I think about who the best men have been in the history of our sport, most of them are guys who grind it out on their own year after year, just honing their craft, and then show up ready to compete.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way too much, but sounds about right.
And you don't have a desire to train other people. It's perfect for both. Justin doesn't have a desire to have other people to have you train.
He didn't even want to train Justin.
Yeah, right. Good point.
I mean, like
you're not like, oh shit, Justin's holding me back. I want to start I want to be Neiffer. I want to be the new camp for 2020 to 2030. You're just doing your thing with him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. And it's not that I don't have a desire to train other people, because like, I coach like classes in my gym every week, and I love that. And that's pretty cool. And then, I guess to answer your question, do I have a desire to create a giant team of games athletes? Nope.
Look at this. Look at this right here. Can you see? Oh shit! Let me see if I can get a good angle on it. Can you see this?
Ashtray? Is that ashtray?
No, this is the lid to my Yeti cup. And see how smooth this edge is right here? Yeti cups are like, you're supposed to be able to put really hot stuff in them or really cold things in them, and it keeps them cold for a long time or hot for a long time. But look at my lid that comes with the Yeti cup has actually melted. Do you see that plastic there?
Yeah,
has melted the edge.
Mm-hmm.
You see that? I'm having like this thing. I've always known plastics are bad for you. Like since I've been a little kid, I've been like, plastic doesn't make any sense. If it's anything that melts, shouldn't be in your mouth. like M&Ms, plastic. You know what I mean? Like stuff should not be in your mouth that melts. That means it's, and I never trusted microwaves either as a kid because I just couldn't see. I'm like, how the fuck does that work? How are they heating shit up? But like a Yeti cup should not have nothing on a Yeti cup. And I think this is the stuff that they're claiming reduces men's sperm count now. What's the word it starts? It's a word that has like 4 consonants in the beginning, like phthalates or something. It's in soft plastics. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Sevan, if the person who designs this Yeti cup ends up losing their job because you've exposed them here, where would they go to find another one?
That is a fantastic question. They should immediately. Thank you, Brian. And we need to be solution oriented. This is the same thing we were talking about with the diet. Like we need to speak about things properly to manifest right thing. The place you would go is barbelljobs.com. Barbell Jobs is where you go if you want to make people's lives better and be in the CrossFit fitness space and get a job at a gym, whether it's cleaning bathrooms, carrying Adam Neiffer's briefcase from his car to his gym at Fort Vancouver. Go to barbelljobs.com. There's a job there for you. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
That was
well done.
Yeah, if I would just drag the show into negativity always if Brian didn't keep it upbeat and let people know that there's solutions there.
Nice work, Brian.
Adam, was there it's been 3-4 months, I guess, since the games now. Have you had to navigate anything differently being the games champions in terms of sponsorship opportunities or obligations or stuff like that? Either as a coach, athlete combo or whatever?
What did he ask?
No, when you win the games, sometimes things change. Like you get more attention, you get more inquiries about whatever. You might have more commitments to certain sponsors or whatever. And I know that sometimes navigating that can be new or different. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah. I think that really started after the 2020 games when Justin got some opportunities sponsorship wise with Rogue and Noble. And maybe there's a couple more, I guess, now this year too. But it hadn't really changed too much. I mean, he has some obligations that he's got to do. I think that, he has to do certain number of appearances and that type of thing. But he works with such awesome group of people in terms, he doesn't have a ton of sponsors, but the ones he does have are very relationally oriented. So yeah, Sevan, he has relationships with those people, which is pretty cool. And I think that makes him, it doesn't, it's not overwhelming, right? He also, Daniel is I guess his representative that helps him manage those sponsorships, and he makes it really easy for Justin. And it doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels like supportive to him. Now during the off season, he'll have a few more things that he has to do, but really his sponsors are awesome because during the game season, like he can just focus on training. He doesn't have to worry about, posting 12 times a week and mentioning this person or that person. Like he can pretty much be focused on what's important at the time.
Wad Zombie's calling those things phthalates, but I think that if you spell it right, it has 4 consonants in the consonants. Constant. What are those letters called that aren't vowels? Consonants. It has 4 consonants in the beginning. That's the chemical atom that you don't want to eat because it reduces your sperm count. It's bad for boys. All kidding aside, it's really bad for boys. Do you have any concerns? Concerns isn't the right word. Do thoughts creep into your brain that someone might be trying to poach him too?
Not at all. Not at all. I welcome it. Yeah. In fact, like encourage him to go, go train with everybody and everyone. Because like worst case, you learn something, and if there's a better way and there's a better situation for him, like awesome. I want what's best for Justin, like honestly. And when we were at Matt Fraser's house before the games, I can't remember exactly when it was. It was a couple months, and Matt and Sammy were like so gracious and just opening up their house, and we just got to go train there for a few days. And Matt shared some insights that he had from years of being the best, and Sammy shared some amazing food, and that was an awesome experience. And one of the last things I said to Matt before we left there is, hey man, like my job is to help Justin get as good as he can be. And if I'm doing my job, I would love to involve Matt Fraser as much as you're willing. And how involved are you willing to be? And, he's like, hey, I'm going to be 100% honest, and I don't have the time or bandwidth to be the boots on the ground coaching, like what you're doing in terms of that everyday, day-to-day relationship with Justin. And so it was really cool because, had he wanted to do that, I would have said, hey, let's figure out how to make it happen. But he's obviously got a lot of other irons in the fire. And at this point, like in Matt's example, he's like, man, I'm going to support Justin however I can. And Justin was able to go back and train there this last weekend. And it's just a great relationship. So I have no concern or fears about anybody, any coaches or any programs coaching Justin. If he trains with a group or a coach or anybody, and he feels like there's a better way to do things, like, let's do it. Let's figure that out.
Do you talk to him every day? No,
not every day. When he's here in Vancouver, I do, because we pretty much like have dinner together almost every day. But it was actually it was experiment up to Rogue. It was the first time we led to a competition where we weren't together in person, and we were curious, like, hey, how's this stuff going to go? And like I said, we answered the question that, like, yeah, it works pretty good.
That's awesome. This JT Watkins, he won't answer this question, but how would he fix Hopper?
JT Watkins. Oh man.
First, there's the presupposition there that Hopper needs fixing. Maybe he's perfect just the way he is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not only that, but yeah, I guess that question just implies that Hopper's broken. And I don't think Hopper's broken.
He's insinuating that Hopper's not as good as what's your guy's name again? The winner, the best dude in the world, Mr. Medeiros. So anyway, everyone's broken next to Justin, I guess is the implication.
Okay, all right. I think Hopper's doing exactly what he needs to be doing. He's this last period of time, he's been able to dedicate more time and energy into his training. He's seeked out the best in the game to help him out. And you can even see, I've listened to him on your guys' podcast, and you can just see he's even had a change in mindset and demeanor. And like he's taken the steps, he's doing what he needs to do. And I think he's going to continue to improve. And so how would I fix Hopper? I'd tell him to keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah, just basically it sounds like every time I talk to him, it sounds like Matt's really coaching him on how to live his life. So,
yeah, I don't.
Maybe those are those steps. We tried to interview him at the Rogue Invitational, and he said no. I said, how come? And I thought he was going to say, because it's a fucking distraction. I don't have time. Get the fuck out of here. But instead, he said, because Matt told me not to. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably good advice.
Hey. Who's Daniel? You said Daniel deals with his sponsors. Who's Daniel?
Oh, Daniel Robbins. He works with Loud and Live, which is the company that represents Justin for sponsorships and that type of stuff.
Oh, okay. I guess I had forgotten that. So the way, I guess in my mind, the way it is, so he's an O'Keefe guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's kind of Daniel's the guy that he does everything for Justin. Like he gets stuff done.
Even books hotel rooms and all that.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I don't know. I think every time is different. Like I think at the games, Noble helped out their athletes there at Rogue. I think Rogue took care of some of that stuff. But yeah, like Daniel, if Daniel has those conversations with potential sponsors and current sponsors, Daniel, like the guy will bend over backwards to do anything for anybody that he works with. Like if Justin needs a bowl of spaghetti at night, like Daniel's the guy that was like, yep, I'll be back in 20 minutes. Right. It's just like he's such a great team member. And when you talk about teams, and like having other athletes, maybe in terms of like the team dynamic for an individual athlete, certainly for Justin, those team members aren't just other individual athletes that are competing for the same thing that Justin is. Those team members are people like Daniel that can help him out with, the sponsorship, all those, the business part of being an athlete that takes a lot of time and attention. It can really distract people from, the true priorities that they have. They have, his coach, myself. Also, I think I talked to you guys about Jesse Bufano, his strength coach, last time we were on maybe. And yeah, people people like we have a weightlifting coach at CrossFit Fort Vancouver that watches all of his sessions when he's in town here. And things like that are super helpful. And then just like when he's training, it's not that he's training alone in a garage. That works for some people, but like for Justin, he enjoys having company. So there's people that work out with him, whether he's here or in Boise, but they don't have to be people that are his direct competitors in order for that to be effective.
Yeah, I think he's told us that basically he'll work out with anyone. He just rolls into the gym and grabs someone.
Yeah.
He doesn't. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This girl Deanna said Hopper is pretty damn perfect. No, we're talking about his athleticism. I think you're wrong podcast. I love these blunt questions. Adam, how important are you? Would you make a person the fittest on earth, or does the person just benefit but needs to be the best? How much of this is you and how much is it Justin? Another way to think of it is like, can you turn a papaya into a banana, or it has to already be like a banana and then you just pick it and peel it at the right time? I don't know if that one worked.
Yeah. I kind of got that, but oh man, I would say like I'm doing my job right. The longer that Justin and I work together, the less valuable that I become. And I know that probably is a weird way to say it, but like early on, there was so much. I don't want to say there's so much more coaching, but there was so much more room for improvement in so many areas. And the further along in Justin's evolution as an athlete, the more that he learns and gets to know himself, and he needs less direction from me, if that makes sense.
Sevan, do you remember James Fitzgerald talking about this yesterday in one word?
No.
Autonomy. Any good coach over time will be able to communicate to their athlete or client effectively enough so that eventually they can go off on their own and they no longer need that coach.
Yeah, like I think that the way that sounds good. I didn't know the real meaning of that word, so thank you for that. But basically, like how we've talked about it is in the beginning, there was a lot of like, for lack of a better word, me telling Justin, hey, this is how to do this. And now it's much more of like a team effort of we're figuring this stuff out together. And you could see it even at Rogue, like he's able to go out there and make adjustments during workouts because he just knows himself better and knows what it takes, that adjustments that he wouldn't have made a year ago. And so, yeah, I'm trying to like unpack that question. How important are you? I'm less important than I used to be. How would you make a person the fittest on earth, or does the person just benefit but needs to be the best? How much of this is you and how much of it is Justin? Man, it's 100% Justin. Like I can do my job and could be, the best coach out there or the worst coach out there. When Justin goes out on the field, it's him. Like 100% credit and effort goes to him, because it doesn't matter what I do. Once 3, 2, 1 go happens, it's all about the athlete. And I think, the coach in our sport or any sport is super important, but at the end of the day, it's the athlete in the arena that, dictates the results. And so that's all on Justin. And like I said, he's getting better every time he gets in the arena.
I'm trying to think that there must be an inverse to this happening at the same time. As Brian put out this and it wasn't disrespectful question, Michael. I just like it because it's blunt. But there's probably like an inverse relationship here. So basically, Brian mentions this thing, autonomy, that OPT mentioned, and then Adam was saying in the beginning, it's like really like, hey, you need to do this, this, and this, and then now as they progress in their relationship, it's more of a partnership. But then that means that as his role, I don't want to say lessens, let's say changes, his sensitivities of Justin have to increase, right? So it's like once a car goes, once Adam gets him up to going to IndyCar going 205 miles an hour, you've done 99% of the work, but now you have to be really careful. Even though your roll has come way down, you have to be really careful the tweaks you do make, because any slight jerks or movements and the car flies off the track, right? I mean, that's not a perfect metaphor, but the relationship becomes more. I don't think it would be healthy. I think it's you need a good coach to make it through you from beginning to the end of your career. I think that is the best way to do it in an ideal world. Maybe not beginning to end, but I think that relationship can be really beneficial. And if you switch, you lose an enormous opportunity. Just like being with a girl or like your relationship with your parents. I think that when you switch coaches, there's some opportunity that's lost. And although maybe the physical tweaks are reduced, there's some other aspects in the relationship where the demand is even higher. Does that make sense? And maybe I'm just making that up to make you feel better.
Brian, hey, I appreciate that part. Brian was laughing like 3/4 of the time, and I was wondering why.
Oh, he laughs at everything I say. He's like, I always just picture he's like, Sevan, that metaphor is not working.
I mean, like 90% of the time you're a funny dude, but you were like having a serious little moment there. And
yeah.
Freaking Brian is cracking up.
I just like to see him struggle.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So he's looking for the words, but
okay,
you know, that question, like asking you how important you are, like if we asked Justin how important you are, it might be a totally different perspective, right? And so, and he might recognize that the value is not so much anymore in all of those minor things that we've refined over the last however long you've been working with him, but now the value is that now I know I can trust him, and so when he does tell me something, I never second guess it.
Well, no, you're right about that, and I felt like that was one thing that, like, we've, just in between Rogue and the games this year, what was it? Basically 22 events, 22 competition events. And so that's like 22 opportunities to grow in that relationship and to improve like how we approach those events. And that can be from as simple as like, okay, we know this is going to be the workout. He needs 50 minutes to get ready for that, not, 40 or whatever. Right. Or, hey, we can start this warm up in 30 minutes before call time. And like learning those things, like how he best sets up for success for an event, to like, what am I saying? What are we talking about? What is he saying? And like we've gotten better at that, and we could feel it at Rogue. It was like, no, this is just, it feels, I don't want to say it feels easier, but it just feels like we're improving in terms of how we work together, in not just preparing for event, like training leading up to it, but even just at the event. Like, I'll make him like a little pre-workout shake or whatever he's going to have. And like, he takes 3 sips of it. Maybe I don't have to try to like force that down him every time, because it's just not something that he wants to have, right? It doesn't have like value for him. And so there are little nuances and things like that yeah, we've been learning as we go that are helpful.
Damn, you're a good dude. I know you have to go soon. I want to ask you a question about training just regular people in the affiliate, about running. What's the name of your affiliate again? It's CrossFit Fort Vancouver?
Yeah.
And where are you located?
Vancouver, Washington.
Which is where is that in the border of Portland and Oregon and Washington State?
Yeah. Portland, one of your favorite cities.
Yeah, well, I don't even consider it a city. It's a toilet bowl brand now. Okay, so I want to talk. So we had James Fitzgerald on here yesterday, and we were talking about the difference between OPEX and CrossFit, and he said something in regards to that OPEX is individualized, and then I was like, well, CrossFit's individualized, and he didn't like that. He was basically like, no, it's not. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then I gave him some examples of how it's individualized. And then he basically said to me, well, that's not CrossFit. And the example I gave him is that my mom's a pretty hardcore CrossFitter. And by hardcore, I mean, she goes 3 days a week. She started when she's 69 and she's 77. And she trains over at Annie Sakamoto's gym. And I think you know who that is, right, Adam?
Of course. Okay.
And that's CrossFit Santa Cruz Central or something like that. Anyway, and when I hear my mom talk, her training's like individualized. But in CrossFit, the word scaled is used a lot to, I guess, interchangeably with individualized. But I'm not when you think of your clients, are they getting individualized training? I'm just trying to figure out, and I'm not discrediting anything he said, because James has been to more gyms. Well, I don't know if he's been to more gyms than I have. But what do you think? Is CrossFit individualized? Or do your clients get individualized attention or treatment?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think there's different levels to it, right? There's like one-on-one personal training, which is very individualized. Justin's
like what Justin gets. Yeah,
exactly. Justin, and that's why when people are like, "Hey, I want Justin's," I'm like, that doesn't necessarily make sense because his training changes, potentially day to day based on how things are going, and it's changed specifically for him. And then you have a CrossFit class, and you might have a dozen people in there, and there's a workout of the day listed on the board, but in those dozen people, there's probably 8 or 10 different variations of that workout for the different people in your class. And so it's like it's individualized within a group setting, right? So there's not as much individualization with a group of 12 as there is with a single person. But I think part of the magic of CrossFit is you can get some of the benefits of individual training within a framework of a team, which is much more enjoyable and like motivating, and I would say just like, right? They don't come in just for the thrusters, the pull-ups. Most people come in because they get to hang out with their friends and get some exercise, right? And so there's this balance of like individual training with a team. So it's a team concept with like individual goals in mind, right? Because everybody's training for different reasons. And yeah, I think there's a lot of that in CrossFit affiliates all over the place, and that's why it works.
Do you want to comment on that, Brian?
No, you take the call.
You're on with Adam. Who's may I ask who's calling, please?
Hey, this is Tom Guerin, man.
Tom,
you got to know, I'm just giving you and Brian crap in the comments. If you can dish it, you can take it. You know what I'm saying?
I can't take shit.
Hey, so I wanted to jump on this conversation real quick in the middle of it because, and like I was saying something to Brian earlier about James Fitzgerald. I'm finishing my OPEC CCC right now, and in our gym that I own, we're kind of working on a mixture of CrossFit and OPEC here. So this whole individualization, scaling conversation is like what I deal with every day. So here's an example of what I think James means, and then I have a question for Adam about it. Think about Fran, right? So you go in, and Annie Sakamoto's got on the board, it's Fran, 21, 15, 9 thrusters and pull-ups, okay? So you would say that workout's individualized for your mom because she's going to do like an empty bar and like jumping pull-ups or something, right?
Yes, sir.
So what James might say is, has she even earned the right to get that stimulus? So the point is the stimulus.
Can we use someone else
right?
besides my mom as the example?
I got you.
And the word
okay,
stimulus, so, just for.
I feel you. Okay, so maybe it's my mom.
Okay, good. I like that. I'm with you.
So my mom definitely hasn't earned the right to like get a 2.5 minute workout where her lungs are on fire because she hasn't spent the time there. Like we don't even know what she's actually capable of. So James might say that workout is scaled to get the same stimulus for an elite athlete or for my mom, but that my mom doesn't need that stimulus. My mom probably needs to go for like a 60-minute walk. And that would be like the best individualized program for her that day. And maybe if we took her on a structured progression for the next 5 years, maybe she could earn the right to do Fran someday. So does that, like, do you see the difference of what the distinction is between individualized versus scaled there?
Or is just splitting hairs with scaling, right? What scaling?
Well, it's not
really
so much splitting hairs. It's what scaling is you're preserving the stimulus of the workout. So Fran has a stimulus that you want everyone in the class to get, and in order for my mom to get that, she can't do 95 pounds. She can't do 65 pounds because the stimulus would be like, okay, well, here's me trying to like lift this bar for the next 20 minutes and I'm done. So she's not getting the proper stimulus. But what I'm saying is in an OPEX model, in an individualized model, you're not thinking about how can I give them this stimulus. You're thinking about what stimulus is appropriate for that individual. So I don't even want her touching the Fran stimulus. I want her doing something totally different, like walking.
Adam, do you think if Tom's mom came into your gym, would you think about her stimulus or just the movements?
I mean, yeah, if Tom's mom came into the gym, and I see where you're coming from, Tom. Like she doesn't necessarily have the capacity to achieve the same stimulus as somebody else that might be in your class. That's okay. Like in that hour class, she's going to get a lot more than just her friend is probably going to take her, I don't know, 7 minutes with an empty bar, and maybe she's doing ring rows. And that's still fine. Maybe her lungs aren't burning like the same as somebody that does it in 2.5 minutes. But that's okay. It's still valuable for her. And there's a lot of other work that goes into that hour training session that she also is going to benefit from as well. Would she get more benefit from, basically paying a coach for individual training for the next 6 months to build up that? Maybe. And that's an option that she could take as well. And I think that like different people are going to be drawn toward different, ways of training, and both are valuable. I don't think we need to like put them at odds with one another. I think both have a place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I 100% agree with you. So my question for you, Adam, was just kind of more about your everyday business. How much of your business is individual? How much of it is just CrossFit group classes? Like, I just kind of want to, and I'll hang up and listen, but I just want to hear kind of the story of the origins of your business, and like, how did you get the gym to where it is now? And like, where did you start as far as the CrossFit gym?
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it, dude. Great question.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
If you can and Adam, don't feel obligated. I know you have kids you have to deal with, so you do you.
No, actually, I'm pretty flexible. My kids, my neighbor can take my kids to school, so we can wrap up or not. I'm good either way. But
okay, then go.
To answer Tom's question, most of our gym is group classes. We have kind of a mixture. I would say the majority of CrossFit for Vancouver as a business comes from people coming in and working out in groups together and having a good time. There's some individual training, and then there's some small group training. And I think like the closest thing that we do to OPEX is probably our weightlifting program. So there's like 4 times a day when Coach Eric coaches specific weightlifting classes, and the guy is a stud, by the way. He's just one of my favorite people on the planet. He went to the Olympics twice for American Samoa in 92 and 96. And he works with about, I would say usually like 6 to 8 athletes at a time. And they all have their individual program, but they do it together. Right. And so that's a really great fit for that. That style.
Eric. What's Eric's last name?
Eric Brown.
How does the guy who is on? He's Samoan.
Yeah. Stud.
His last name is Brown.
Yep.
Doesn't he need some like Islander name?
I don't know. I never asked him.
Eric, don't you need some? How do you? So sorry, I'm thinking about that guy's question, whether you answered it or not, whether I care to pursue it or not.
Okay, you think about that for a second. I'm gonna check it out.
Oh my goodness, there they are! Holy cow!
There they are, Emma and Hope.
Hi, Emma and Hope. How are you guys?
Shoot. Come on, Daddy, go! I can't hear you. I can't hear you because my phones are in.
Adam, we're gonna let you go.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Are you driving them to school right now?
They're actually just gonna walk over to the neighbors, and then she's gonna take them to school.
Okay, then we're not gonna let you go.
Yeah, we're
How
good.
come you're not driving them to school? Would you have normally driven them to school? Okay, go ahead, kiss them goodbye, do your shit.
Yeah. Okay, cool. You guys talk for a second. I'm gonna be right back.
Does it make you want to have kids, Brian?
I think that the thing about that conversation we haven't really addressed is you have to understand what the people are paying for at your gym. And so, or what you're advertising that you're selling there. So at the OPEX gym, people are expecting to get something that's specifically for them. At the CrossFit gym, even if the person's coming in with the understanding that I'm not going to do this workout as it's written on the board necessarily,
right,
and that the coach is going to give me something that's in my best interest, they still have the desire to do that workout with a group of people in a way that's going to be enjoyable and beneficial for them. And so it's just, I think that's the lost piece or the missing piece here is what's the expectation of the client?
Well said. That's a really good point. Adam, he's basically saying like, one of the pieces that haven't been, we haven't talked about is people come to a CrossFit gym and they might expect a group class. People go into an OPEX gym and they might expect individual training. And yet you still can get individualized training at a CrossFit gym. Do the OPEX people all work out together at an OPEX gym? I've never been in one of those gyms. Do they still 3, 2, 1, go, and they all go?
No. Everyone will receive coaching usually electronically from their coach, and then they come to the gym during a time that the gym's open, and they execute the plan for the day. There's usually a coach on the floor, but it's not necessarily your coach, and that coach is there just to, make sure people are moving safely, answer any questions if they have questions. If they see something that looks off, they can ask them about it. What are you doing today? Whatever. So they're just there to kind of help out and facilitate. And but no, most of the people, they get their program, they come in, and then they're doing it mostly on their own.
It's weird because my the first 30 years of my life, maybe more, 40 years, I'm 49 now, everything I did was to see other people. So like the only reason why I went to my 7:45 a.m. anthropology 101 course at UC Santa Barbara is because there was a pretty girl there. I mean, the first day I go because I'm supposed to go to class, but then I'm like, that's like my motivation to go to that class. Or like I remember in the second grade, my friend Jeff Holman, I just loved him to death. Second, third, fourth grade, and even fifth grade. And I went to school every day to see him because I couldn't wait to play with him. And so like and I think maybe a lot of people are like that. And and same with when I worked at CrossFit, I loved going to the office because my friends were there. But at an OPEX gym, you go, I guess you don't get that, right? You're going.
No, you definitely can get that. I mean, you can, if let's say you're going to the 6:30 a.m. CrossFit class, whatever, and there's some people in that gym, it could be the same thing for OPEX. The gym's open at that time, and you say, all right, we all got our own stuff, but let's meet there at 6:30 and we'll get our work in. We'll talk if we can between sets or whatever, and then we'll hang out for a few minutes at the end of when we all finish up. Like you could still certainly plan for that.
All right. So you could still meet girls there.
Oh yeah.
I think the girl's name in my anthropology class, her name was Amanda, and she had this huge red fro. Man, she was so cute. And like 5 years later, she got into fucking meth and got all fucked up. It broke my heart. I mean, it was fucked up. College. Meth. Yeah. Come on, Fort Vancouver. That fucking everything north of Shasta's fucking on meth.
Yeah, I don't know. I think too, like it's hard to speak in generalizations of like, hey, this is the OPEX experience and this is the CrossFit experience. Because as you guys know, every affiliate that you go into, I haven't been to a lot of OPEX gyms, but I'm sure it's the same way. Every one of these gyms that you go into, what makes them cool is they're unique, right? They're not the whatever F45 or whatever those things are called, where it's like there's this kind of like the experience is the same at every gym that you go to.
Every McDonald's has the same cheeseburger.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, every McDonald's has the same menu. Every CrossFit gym is like very unique, and some of them might do a little more personal training, and some of them might do a few more group classes. And it's up to the individual to figure out like, hey, what do they want to do? Go in and experience this gym, and if it has value in your life, you're probably gonna keep doing it. And if it doesn't, then you probably find something else.
Are you documenting your I don't know what the word is, relationship with Justin, your daily relationship with Justin? Like will we get a book in 10 years? Like are you keeping a journal and like both not only his workouts but how you feel, just all those things?
Nope, not at all. Keeping a journal of like his training, yeah, but I have not documented much else. Nope.
I think you should. I think this relationship with you and him is going to end up being one of the most fascinating relationships in the history of CrossFit. I really do. I think you guys are going to stay together a long time. There's never supposed to be anyone who is better than Josh Everett or Greg Amundsen. Then there was never supposed to be anyone better than Josh Everett. Then there was never, like the guy who's at the top, there's never supposed to be anyone better than. Then obviously then Rich Froning came and there was never going to be anyone who did it 4 times. The only reason why that happened is because the sport was in its infancy. And now then Matt Fraser comes along. It's like, what the fuck is going on? And now this kid, Justin Medeiros, is coming along. Brian, I have this question for you. I know this, you and Tyler might think this is an absolutely insane question, but one of the things that Matt tried to do is he tried to get like 2 or 3 podium spots at that last game he was in, points wise. He wanted to have enough points to win the games and then have enough points to still get him on the podium. Do you remember that? Do you know what I'm talking about, Adam?
Yeah.
I wonder if you took all of the best performances. Oh, would that just automatically put someone at first place? I'm going to say it anyway, even if it makes me sound dumb. I wonder if you took all the best if you took the best performances of all the guys in the top 5 and made them into one person, if Justin still beats them. Or I wonder what that looks like to elevate, really show how great he is. If you took all the people in the top 3, well, he's in the top 3. So
yeah. Well,
but do you know what I'm saying? Like I think we're seeing something outside of some. I think we're seeing something really freaky with him.
Well, I do know what you're saying. I do know what you're saying. Matt was that's just such an outlier, especially at the 2020 games, because there's only a field of 5, so that's why he could have enough points to win first, plus enough to get back on the podium,
right,
just with his margin of victory. If you look at Justin, either at the games or the Rogue, it was close. It's not like he ran away with it. It was close the whole way through, and so there's not the separation that that Matt had at the 2020 games. And then in terms of just the OPT, and then there's Miko, and then there's Kalipa and Froning and Fraser, and everybody kind of one-ups, and you mentioned Everett and Amundsen and those guys. I don't know. It's a different conversation, but I think it's way too soon to start talking about, at least in my mind, Justin being the next whoever, or winning so many titles. He's won the CrossFit Games one time, and it was close. Like I said, it's not like he was so dominant that the outcome was wrapped up before the final day of competition. And he's going for number 2. There's no talk of 3, 4, 5, 6 or anything like that. Right now he's just focusing on getting better, and hopefully he'll have another good season.
It's never too soon when you have a podcast.
I totally hear you.
I'm already thinking about Justin's sperm and what they're going to do in the sport. I'm already it's never ever.
That's the game. That's the game we play in. I realize that, but for us, from my perspective, it's no, let's get better for next year.
Do you get asked to be on a lot of podcasts?
Not really. No, I've gotten asked more by you than all the other ones combined, and that's only because
I'm a bottom feeder.
But that's only because you asked me 12 times in one day, and
true.
My phone wasn't my phone wasn't really working when I was in Texas. I actually really wanted to come on, but yeah, I apologize for that.
No, it's okay. The truth is, I don't expect anyone to come on, and I thought it was insanely generous that Vellner came on. Insane. And Travis Mayer came on too during the week. But I just figure, hey, if there's guys who want to do it, and if I can be nice to them and be a part of their journey, but also bring the spectators in closer, that's basically the whole thing I'm thinking. I'm thinking, okay, fuck it. What do I care? I'm just going to fucking carpet bomb and ask everyone. And if people want to come on and talk to the audience, that'd be great. And if they don't, whatever. And so I was just always hoping that okay, and Adam's not joking. I was bugging him the whole weekend, and I would send him links. So Brian and I would be on the air, and I would just send Adam a link and just hope he clicks in. And the other day we did that during a show. Colton Mertens just, popped into a show. I just sent him a link, and so it was just awesome. So when that happens, it's just cool. It's just
I love that, man. And I honestly I love being on your guys' podcast, but I also dude, it's I don't listen to a lot of them. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I actually just enjoy listening to your guys. It's a good time, man.
Thank you.
I love that you got Coach B on the other day. Oh man, that guy's such a stud.
Sevan, I'll tell you this about your question. If you just replaced Vellner's 2 worst finishes at the games with BKG's finishes in those events, he'd already have enough points to win the games.
Okay.
So it's and like just Adam's saying, this was there was something that felt, if we're talking about the games or really Rogue, there was something that felt dominant about watching Justin compete, and that was the fact that he never really had a bad workout. He seemed to always execute when it mattered most. But when you look at the scoreboard, Vellner's right next to him, and I obviously wrote the article about how they have each beaten each other 11 times over those 22 events. So they're pushing each other, they're challenging each other, and Justin just keeps getting, he's doing what he needs to do, and the moment matters the most. What I look at for Justin's sake is over those events, he's actually half the time he's had a top 3 finish. 11 of 22 times he's been first, second, or third in the workout, but only 2 times has he won the workout outright. And people have talked about this already, how it has this sort of a feel of what was going on for Fraser in 2016. 1 first place on the Ranch Trail Run, 7 second places. And that didn't sit well with him. And obviously he goes on to, win a ton of events over the next 4 years. So it'll be interesting to see how Justin evolves now that he's won, but he did it only winning 1 event. He's had a bunch of close calls in terms of event wins. And if that's something that like they can find a way to hone in on, because it's obvious with the scoring system how it is that winning events goes a long way.
Yeah. It's cool to see him get some event wins this year, because I don't remember off the top of my head how many competition events he did in 2020, but it was quite a few. It was I think he had 9 at the Filthy 150, and then what was there in stage 1 of the CrossFit Games? Was there 6?
7 in stage 1.
Okay, so there was 9 and 7, and then however many were at the games in 2020. So it was like 20 plus events, and he didn't have any event wins right during that time. And so to have a couple this year, like there's some progress there. Hopefully he gets more next year.
Where do you guys go next? What's next on the competition list?
The Open.
Oh, isn't there some other stuff like some the Matt O'Keefe's thing in Miami and the one in the desert? Yeah. He's Justin's his next competition though will be the Open, and so yeah, I think he'll be at Wodapalooza, or he will be at Wodapalooza, not competing though. Will you go out there for that? I don't think I will. No. When you work with him, do you guys have a formal contract? We do, yeah. And in there, does it say like what you can and can't talk about in terms of his programming? Like, can you like, is it already planned out that like you can or can't in 10 years you can or can't sell the programming you gave him? That's not in there. I don't think. I probably better read it a little closer, but. No, man, I love how casual your relationship is. I hope I hope the best for you guys. I mean, and I see it just being awesome too. Man, I hope so too. It's fun. It's something that we both really enjoy. So it's pretty cool. And you took off training time because you were trying to spend more family time, and then now you're sucked back up into this coaching Medeiros. Is your family cool with that? Your wife, your kids, your in-laws, It's different. It's different for sure. Like I did take off competing, to have some other priorities in my life, and this coaching role provides some balance. It's kind of like just a really cool setup, because I'm not the one in the competition arena that's like, just like making sure that I go to bed at a certain time and making sure that I say no to certain obligations because I got to make sure that I get the right food in at the right time or whatever, or training, 2 sessions a day pretty darn religiously. Coaching has a nice level of balance where I get to be a part of the sport. I genuinely just love the sport of CrossFit, and I get to share some of that experience with Justin, but at the same time, I can be more present as a dad, as a coach, a leader at my gym. And so it really is an amazing balance that Lauren and I talk about it all the time. Just how fortunate we are to be at this point in our lives when we can do this kind of stuff. When the first TV show I ever had was a show on public access. It was called IVTV. It was in 2000. And it was when computers first, like the day computers allowed you to start editing on a computer at home, that Apple allowed that. I started making TV shows with a camera I got at Circuit City. And my girlfriend even though I lived in a motorhome, I was balling. I would sling VHS tapes in front of like the local liquor store at UC Santa Barbara. And I was making like, I don't know, so much money, like $20,000 or $30,000 a year slinging VHS tapes, just living in a motorhome, rich as fuck. I was popular. I was running shit. And the show was IVTV, and I made 20 shows over 3 years. And my girlfriend at the time would tell me basically she was jealous. She was jealous of my success. She was jealous. Like, it was just nuts. And I couldn't to this day, I still can't relate with it. And now I have a wife who's just immensely happy with anything that I'm happy about, right? That I'm doing. So if I work out, she's happy for me. When I come out, she'll be like, "How was your podcast?" And she's like genuinely happy. How is your wife with, is she jealous of just this? I mean, there's something really fantastic here that probably people don't realize, but I'm guessing because I'm putting myself directly in your shoes. You had this amazing career as a team guy, but you never really get the accolades as a team guy that you would as an individual. You have this amazing affiliate, but you're just one of 15,000. And now this fucking thing called Justin Medeiros has dropped in your lap, and you've been just thrusted into the front of the line again. You know what I mean? And that's got to be so stimulating for you, right? I mean, I know you like waking up every morning to see your daughters anyway, and you had a great life and you love your clients, but this is fun. This is like you woke up and there's a fucking race car in your driveway and you don't have to pay the insurance on it. It's like, what the fuck?
It's crazy, man. It is.
How, and it's like that for every coach. It's just fortuitous good shit happening to someone who had their head down and grinding. Is your wife happy for you? Is she jealous? Is there anyone in your life who's not happy for you? And how do you manage that?
That's a good question. My wife, Lauren, I mean, dude, she's the whole reason that we're doing this. She was the one that read the letter from Justin and was like, "Hey, you should do this." And so from the very beginning, she was like the catalyst that made it happen. She's that, like, some 19-year-old kid walks into our house and I'm like, "Hey, this dude's going to start living with us." And he walks in with a mullet and she gives him a hug and says, "Welcome to the family. I love your haircut," type of thing. And then, the whole time, like she is, it's hard to describe because it's kind of like, when Justin won the games and, that moment of when he embraced his parents, on the finish line, like, all I can describe is I was like so overwhelmed with happiness for him. And Lauren feels the same thing for me, because she's like, we're together all the time. And so that's how she feels. And she's like, so happy and so proud. And like, she knows that, like, it's her too. So it's like, we get to share in those things together. I should show you this. Lauren just actually dropped this off yesterday. She's made one of these for like our like all of our teams that went to the games. And now that Justin's going to the game, she has a friend that is like an art gallery. I don't know if you can see this, but that's Justin's jersey. I don't know if you guys remember the snatch event at the games. He got his hand bled and he got blood all over the place. And that's it right there. So it's got his leader jersey. It's got a picture of him on the podium. And so, she takes the time to take that stuff down to some art gallery downtown and get it, framed and that type of stuff. And so she freaking loves it, man. It's just, yeah.
He gave you that? Justin gave you that?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So we'll hang that up in the gym hopefully later today.
Yeah. Okay. So she's pumped. Was it wrapped in saran wrap or was that just a shitty framing job?
No, it's wrapped in. So yeah, it's like wrapped in some kind of.
Oh, okay, good.
Some kind of plastic. Good thing she got this year because she made a New Year's resolution. She does something really cool every year, and she's not gonna use single-use plastic for a year. So yeah, good thing she got that already.
Wow, that's some discipline. I love it.
Yeah. So we're kind of we're experimenting with that. But yeah, back to like your question. She's in it, man. She loves it, and it wouldn't be possible or sustainable if she wasn't in. You know what I mean? If she had feelings of jealousy or resentment or whatever, that would just make it not possible.
I had James Krause on. He's a world-class, UFC fighter, and now he's making a huge name in the UFC as a coach. And I don't remember if he said this on my show or whether I heard him say it on another show when I was researching him, but he was saying that one of the best things in life is when your fighter wins and the first thing they do, they come over to you and thank you. He said he just loves that moment. And I as superficial as it sounds, that's one of those feelings that I've always had that I probably wouldn't have talked about because I kind of pushed away how much I enjoyed it when you would be on the field even as a photographer and Justin would cross the finish line and the first person he fist bumps is you as that photographer feel so special, right? Or like if he if Rich Froning crosses and he hugs a referee, you cannot You cannot believe how wonderful that feels. And I'm guessing the same is for you, right? Justin wins an event, and the first thing he does is come over and high five you, or you guys touch foreheads, and it's just like, holy fuck. There's something really special about being that guy.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And it's hard to describe. It's like, and I think about that. Lauren and I talk about this all the time. Like, this whole year is kind of unbelievable. Just how well Justin has done. It's like, is this even real life? You know, it's not something that we necessarily expected or took, you know, definitely not something we take for granted, but man, just something we appreciate. And when we talk about it, it brings a lot of joy.
Taking the top from Jason Watkins. Is his name Jason or Tyler? Or what's
Jason Tyler Watkins, but he prefers Tyler.
Okay. Tyler Watkins, taking the top 5 finishers from the 2021 games, adding up the best scores per event. That score would have been 1,269. Medeiros had 1,234, so he would have lost 35 points. I mean,
I'm not sure really what he's done there. I got different numbers than that.
All right, we'll have to work on our calculations, or maybe I'm not really explaining what I'm saying perfectly well either. So maybe he.
Oh, but we've talked about, people have talked about this in the past, right? They said like, wow, Fraser was so dominant this year. He won by 200 and something points. What if you took, you know, the next 3 or 4 guys and took whoever did the best in that in every workout? Would they be able to overtake that points difference? And sometimes the answer was no, because, you know, if you look at a couple of the years for Fraser, I mean, he had like maybe one event outside the top 10 and everything else was so high, and he had so many firsts and seconds that it was like you couldn't make up the difference, even if you took the best performance by everyone in each workout. But in this case, you know, that's not the case. I don't know. I did the numbers. I ended up with 1,365 points is what they would have had. But I just did it really roughly while I was also listening there. So either way, it's I think we already addressed it. Like, Justin's looked good and been dominant, executed well, but there's close competition on the men's side, and sure, you know, and I think he knows that. I think he probably, I mean, Adam, you can talk to it. It's kind of a cool thing for the men's competition right now, because a couple of the guys that are still right there are probably towards the back end of their career, and Pat and Brent and BKG. But you don't have to look very much further, and it's not just Justin, who's this young guy who's got a ton of potential in the space right now. You know, Saxon Panchik, Lazar Jukic, Guy Maieros, Jason Hopper, like none of these guys are more than 26 years old, and all of them have a lot of potential to be competitive for the next several years.
It trips me out that the next guy in the horizon came from the bottom, though, and not from the pack, right? Unless that's just romanticizing it. There was a pack of bulls running, and Matt was the main bull. And then there were other bulls, gnarly bulls in there, like Vellner and Fikowski and Panchik and BKG. And then all of a sudden, this truck pulls up and drops another bull off in the field, and it fucking ran up to the front. And that's Justin. And it's like, Jesus. What about the other ones that have been in there? Like, he just like, now it is interesting.
I don't think that that's necessarily accurate.
That's not an accurate picture. That's just me romanticizing it. The pickup.
No, because think about this.
Out.
Before Froning won, he got second. Before Ben Smith won, he'd already podiumed. Before Fraser won, he'd already podiumed twice. And before Justin won, he'd already podiumed once.
So you're saying I'm sort of falling prey to that thing, that overnight success. You're saying, Justin, it's also a discredit to Justin. Maybe what I'm saying, he's not an overnight success. The car didn't just pull up and dump off a bull and he ran to the front. He's paid his dues.
He got there quick, but not as quick as you made it sound.
Okay. All right. He stopped midway up the hill and took a deuce. There was a funny comment in here. Where is it? Wait, where is it? It's something about, I don't even, this guy must be from the UK. If my aunt had bullocks, I think that means testicles, she would be my uncle. Yeah, that is correct. I just want to tell you that I'm huge on sex as being a scientific terminology. And to be clear, I always refer to it just as penis and vagina, but it's also the reproductive potential. The male sex produces sperm and the female produces the eggs. And that's why that word is so important. And that is not, and I've said it 1,000 times and I'll say it again, don't get it confused. That is not what gender means. Gender is people's imagination, which is fine. I like imagination. Imagination is great, but there is no gender in this outside world out here. That's all just between your ears. Did you know what gender you are, Adam, by any chance?
What gender am I?
Yeah. Do you give it much thought?
I think, I'm pretty sure I'm a male, man. Or is that a sex?
No. That's your sex. Your sex is male.
Okay.
Do you know what gender you are? Do you know what gender you are? I don't think you do.
I always thought there was just two options.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you can go with that. No, I guess you can go with that.
I
don't know what gender I am, but I know what sex I am.
You're saying that sex. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
I know what sex I am then too.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
You're the sperm part. You're the penis part. I assume. I have no evidence, but I will take your word.
Cool.
Oh, wait a minute. A man can't get pregnant? No, Bruce. Sorry. That's also imagination. I think if Justin wins again, Sevan needs to become a part of the Mullet Club.
Oh, there we go.
Just crow that shit out now.
Dude, you should just commit to it right now, like Shane did.
Who's Shane?
Shane Orr. Have you seen? He said at the MAC at the semifinal last year, hey, if Justin wins the games, I'll start growing out a mullet, and he's been working on it.
Is he? Does Justin have a video guy?
A couple guys that help him out. I don't know if that he has like a specific guy, but there's a couple guys that do it. Yeah.
I got my Orrs confused. Shane Orr is Tia's husband.
Yeah.
But he has a brother. That's who said he would grow out a mullet. Or was it his brother?
Wait, who?
Who did you say would grow out a mullet if Justin won again?
Shane.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I got
Tia's husband, Shane. Yeah.
And who's Shane's brother? Doesn't he have a brother?
Paddy Orr, videographer. He's a videographer out of Australia, and he works at a lot of events.
God, you would think he would just jump on that Tia bandwagon. Is he Tia's guy?
No, they have a media crew and person down there in Nashville with him. I think Paddy Orr is doing what he wants to do and likes to do, and he's pretty successful on his own.
Do you know him?
I've met him, yeah.
Is he cool?
Yeah, very cool.
Is he as kind of stoic as Shane?
I would not maybe a little bit more, just like he gives more of a relaxed, chill kind of vibe. Shane's very stoic's a good word.
He's a little more gregarious. He has to be. He's a film guy.
Yeah, but I've also never really hung out with Shane in a social setting, and I have hung out with Paddy in a more of a social setting in Dubai before and after the competition. There were a bunch of other people there, so I don't know. Maybe I don't know Shane that well.
As silly as this question sounds, I'm guessing that you've made some errors with the mullet. Does Adam cut his own hair? And if so, can we get some pointers on cutting the mullet? Is it as simple as just shave the sides?
Yeah. It's that simple. It's nice to have give it a good taper on the sides, but that's it. It's not complicated. And the thing is, it's a mullet. So if you mess it up, it's whatever. It's a mullet. And then if it's the best one you've ever done, it's still a mullet. So either way, you're pretty much good to go if you just trim up the sides.
Ross Lewis is suggesting some PEDs when you cut your mullet. Get drunk, do some coke, and give it your best. How about sit in the back of a pickup truck?
That probably worked pretty good too.
Oh my goodness. How's his dad's mullet? Is it crazy?
Justin's?
Yeah.
Justin's dad, Anthony? Oh yeah. It's pretty great, man. Yeah, it's awesome. It's not quite as full as Justin's is. Justin's is just full and fluffed and feathered, and Anthony has a little more mileage on it, but it's solid, man.
Sevan, do you smoke weed just for the podcast? I do not do any kinds of I don't eat sugar. I don't smoke weed. I don't eat edibles. I don't do mushrooms. I don't do LSD. I don't do I don't do anything like that. I live a perfect life, so I don't do any hallucinogens. I never even try to. I constantly work on my levels of consciousness. I never sleep except when it happens on accident. I only do deep breathing and mindfulness when I lie down. And I can't believe that I used to smoke cigarettes, and I love nicotine, but what a enormous fuck up it was to burn stuff and inhale it into my lungs. Your lungs are not meant to drugs are just a shortcut. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't regret doing any of the ones that I did, but they're just a shortcut. And if you want to know, you can DM me on the side and I can tell you how to get to all of those places that drugs get you to without doing them. They're not fun. It's like CrossFit. It's hard. It's hard shit.
Yeah, dude. Good stuff.
And Brian, is there anything that you would like to say to Mr. Neiffer before? As soon as we get off, I'm going to immediately ask him if he'll come on the podcast tomorrow. I'm going to text him. Hey, we want to come on the podcast tomorrow.
I know. I got curious about the sex and genders, and now I did a little research, and I'm regretting it.
Oh, what? Did you not like? Do you want me to read the definition of gender for you? It'll make it all clear.
No, it doesn't make it clear.
Oh, no, it does, because one of the definitions of gender is that it's partially arbitrary. First of all, nothing can be partially arbitrary. And if you look up let me look up the word arbitrary for you. Arbitrary.
What I discovered is there are definitely two sexes,
yes,
but there are up to 97 different genders.
No, but there's a million genders. Don't be so limiting. Don't be prejudiced or racist or sexist. There's a million. You can be any gender you want. You can be 1.33333. I mean, it's just made up. There is no, just like red means stop is made up. This gender thing is just made up also. But it's okay. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Please, no one take that with negativity. Tons of great shit is made up. Even gravity is made up. It's an idea. Okay. Do you see, Brian?
Yeah.
The phenomenon of gravity is not made up. But, and if you really want me to say something crazy, okay, I won't even go there. I'll be nice. I don't want to.
Adam, were you happy with with CrossFit releasing the schedule a little earlier this year?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Is that something like when that happens, does that make planning for the next however many months for you guys a little bit less stressful?
No, I mean, I think honestly, I haven't put too much thought into it yet. Like, we know the general outline for the season. Having the dates further ahead of time is really nice, just in terms of like, being able to put the pieces together. But for now, it's I think it's really cool that that CrossFit is that far ahead of things this year. I know in past years it's kind of felt last minute at times, and I like it, or I appreciate it, I should say, even more as an affiliate owner than even as like Justin's coach, because as an affiliate, like, we can plan for it a little easier when we know the dates of the open, as an example. So I think it's pretty cool. Yep. What about
look at
these?
Here's. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just curious. Like, you guys have been doing this podcast for a little bit of time, or do you call this the show or the podcast?
Both.
Okay. Both of them.
Whatever the sponsor wants us to call it.
And how's it going? You do like multiple a day? What's the plans for you guys?
Go ahead. I want to hear Brian's answer to this.
Well, I just I try to only do 1 or 2 a week, and Sevan, I think, is committed to doing at least 500 shows.
Okay.
I try to do one every day. I try to drag Brian onto one every day. We have boundary issues in our relationship that I don't respect, and I feel like I'm just killing it. I feel like we're killing it. It's just awesome. It's just growing. So we do live shows now. We do call-in shows. We do UFC. We do
news.
We have a news show with Hobart and Kate. Tons of cool. We just had Khalifa was a special guest last week. We got Justin Medeiros as coach this morning. Friday, I got tomorrow. I have a Dalton Rosa on. He's a Rasta. He's a UFC fighter or a Bellator fighter, 5-0. Then the day after that, I have this gynecologist on, Courtney Hunt, who's an MD, and she's also way into physics and quantum physics, and she's been studying consciousness and when she believes it enters the body when people mate, when the sperm breaches the egg. And so just anything and everything.
Wow. That's cool.
Thank you,
man. I love listening to your guys' show. Especially, yeah, of course I'm more, I don't know what your average listener is, but I follow mostly the CrossFit stuff, and dude, keep it up.
Yeah. The 99% of the people follow the CrossFit stuff makes me sick. I'm just leveraging you people to try to grow my podcast in another direction.
Dude. Well, thanks for having me on, man.
#truth.